I'm Lindsay Partridge here to do some myth busting about Liberty using Shiny, who's my 3-year-old quarter horse who I've only had for about 3 months. And so the first myth I'm going to bust is that people think that I spend a lot of time with my horses. But the reality is that I'm also a full-time nurse. I'm a full-time mom with a 1-year-old daughter. I have a farm business that I run. I do clinics and lessons and things like that. So I really don't have every day to work with my horses. That's just not a possibility at all. So if I'm working with my horses a couple times a week, I'm pretty happy. If I do 4 times a week, it's like, whoa, that was a great week. So the good news is that you don't have to spend a lot of time with your horses doing Liberty to make progress, as long as you're making all of the sessions count and really putting in quality sessions rather than quantity sessions. And I want to share with you guys a few ways of how you can do that with your horses. So this is little Shiny here, and if you guys aren't familiar with me, my name's Lindsay Partridge. I'm a multiple-time thoroughbred makeover champion for trail, freestyle, field hunter, and ranch. I'm a finalist as well as a champion reserve champion within the thoroughbred makeover, as well as a Mustang makeover champion and reserve champion. And at the thoroughbred makeover, every single one of my horses has made the top 3 in one of their disciplines, and every single horse has made top 10 in both of their disciplines, and usually in the top 5 for all their stuff. So I've got lots of experience training horses, a lot of experience with thoroughbreds and Mustangs, and want to share with you guys a few things that I do with my horses. And so even in the background here, as I'm doing Liberty out in this big open space, we've got horses in the round pen behind us that are all excited and moving because we're doing construction on the farm. We're getting ready for winter. So they are going wild over here, and I'm still able to manage a connection with my horse so far. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I thought I would use Shiny with you guys because you'll probably get to see something raw and not perfect, because I haven't had her that long and we've been working on Liberty and playing around with some different things, but it's not going to be perfect. So like there, when she tries to leave, I can make a little correction there. So one of the biggest things that I want you guys to think about is, are you a reward or are you a threat for your horse? And I think a lot of people, when it comes to Liberty, I know when I was first learning about Liberty, I thought that you had to chase a horse to get them to join up with you. I thought that you have to use a lot of pressure and release. And although I will use some pressure and release, because that's how I communicate what I want. So for example, if I want Shiny to move her shoulders, I'm going to guide her shoulders like this. Or if I want to stop her, I can grab her chest there. If I feel like she wasn't going to listen to a rhythm cue, I can press on her chest here to ask her to back up. Good girl, yes. So all of those things are all pressure and release. And pressure and release is okay. Research shows that if you use what's called negative reinforcement, which just means the removal of pressure, you can still keep an animal or a being or a human, whatever it is, in a thinking frame of mind, because there's an answer. But what we also know is that if you use positive reinforcement, you are going to speed training on average at least twice as fast, and you're going to increase motivation. So I use a lot of positive reinforcement. So I have a cookie pouch with me, and I'm going to be using some cookies with Shiny. I can also use scratches, but the thing about scratches is they just take a lot longer. So if you think about it, would you work for a 2-second back rub? Probably not. It's not really that good of a reward. So I like to think of it as treats are the universal currency for horses, the way that money is for humans. So it works really well for horses to use food. Oh, we found some really nice scratchy spots. She's really enjoying this. So when we use positive reinforcement with horses, we're showing them that, hey, look, I can do something good for you. There's a reason why you want to be with me, and it's because I'm fair, I'm trustworthy, but also I make it a good deal. And if you're only using pressure and release, if you're only using that kind of tactic where the reward is you leaving your horse alone, I want you to really think about that. If the reward is you leaving your horse alone, well, why would your horse not just leave you then when you get out into an open space and try Liberty outside of a round pen or a small confined area? There's no real reason for them to be with you because you've taught them, well, the answer is for you to leave them alone. So I want you to really think about that. And so there's a lot more detail that we could go into about positive reinforcement, but the reward needs to be meaningful for your horse. So Shiny really likes this spot here. We can see that she's loving this. But I have other horses that probably wouldn't like the same scratch spot. So it wouldn't have the same value to them. It wouldn't have the same connection properties because not every horse is the same. And so that's why food is usually pretty good, because it's usually a universal reward. It's pretty fast. It also gets the horse to start chewing, and it provides something really immediate and really quick. So with our horses, we can do the same thing. Now, one of the things that I often hear is, well, I can't use food because my horse will become a cookie monster. They'll be after my cookie pouch the entire time. You won't be able to stand there and have a cookie pouch because they'll be on it all the time. They'll be right there. They'll be muggy the whole time. But the reality of the matter is that if my horse is coming into my cookie pouch, it's my job to say, hey, this is my space. Stay away from my space. This is mine, and not get out of my horse's area. So if I want to give my horse a treat, let's say I'm going to ask her to go back, back, back. Good girl. I can say yes as a cue so she knows she can expect a treat. Now if she comes into my space like this and tries to grab that cookie, I can just shake her off and say, no, you can't do that. And then I give her her cookie far away from my pouch. Notice how I leaned into her space and gave her the cookie over there. So I think of it as learning how to take food by hand is just as valuable a skill as learning many other things with horses. And I kind of think of it the same way as, well, let's say I was teaching my horse to canter under saddle, and I said, well, I don't want to teach my horse how to canter under saddle because then they might gallop. They might take off on me because they think that running under saddle is okay. But we don't say that. We say, well, no, the horse has to learn how to behave at the canter and be respectful at the canter so they don't go galloping off with you, right? So it's the same thing with food, is I don't say, oh, well, the horse could be muggy, therefore I'll never use food. Instead I say, oh, okay, there has to be manners and boundaries around using food with horses, the same way that there has to be manners and boundaries around adding speed into the relationship so the horse doesn't think they can just run off and take off with you. We have to have those same boundaries in place. So it's a skill to teach your horse, and it means that you have to be on about your manners, not allowing your horse to come in your space, not backing out of your horse's space, so not trying to get a cookie out of your pouch and your horse is pushing you over. They need to stay where they are. You need to stay where you are. If they come in your space, block that space. It's not going to make your horse head shy, because your horse knows that the reason why you were shaking like that is because you were blocking your space. So she's not scared of me or anything like that. It's not going to create that ability because I'm not going after her. I'm not saying, I'm going to hit you, Shiny. No, I'm saying, hey, this is my space. My arms might randomly just, they might just move all around. You don't really know how they're going to move. So you want to make sure you're not in this little bubble of space, because there goes the hands again. You never really know what's going to happen there. And she knows not to be demanding those cookies all the time, because she's not going to get a cookie unless she hears that word, that Y-E-S word, that marks the behavior that I want her to do. As well, she knows that she has to earn the cookie. So let's see if we can get Shiny to do a couple little things here to show you. So let's say, Shiny, come. So see how she's not really listening there or not really going? So one of the really easy things that I want to show you that you could do, oh, she ended up coming around anyways. Oh, didn't. So I can block her with a chest hold there, and then I can just use a simple cheek hold here to show her what I want to do. So one of the other myths about liberty is that you always need to teach your horse on a rope. Good girl, step up, and then test them at liberty. But I want you to challenge yourself to actually teach your horse at liberty. And so a lot of times people think, well, if you're at liberty, you can't touch your horse, you can't guide your horse. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You can actually teach your horse at liberty with no tools and still show them the right answers if you know how to position your body and you know what are the different types of things that you can ask for and what you can do with your horse. So with Shiny here, when she wasn't going to follow me where I wanted her to go, I could use that cheek hold to correct her and show her what I actually wanted her to do. Shiny, hip, good girl, very good girl, excellent, yes. So she did a couple little steps of her hip there, which is what I asked her to do. So I'm going to offer her a little reward. Just wanted her to be a little bit more square onto the camera there. And with horses, As soon as we realize that we can actually correct our horse with no tools, still at liberty in a big open space, then our horse all of a sudden realizes, oh, I can trust you, I can follow you, and there's no point to, starting to leave or anything like that. There's no reason to get defensive, and it lets you achieve liberty in open spaces with grass or on the beach, whatever it is that you want to do, a lot sooner, because your horse isn't thinking, oh, they took the halter and rope off, they've got no communication anymore, they've got no way to control or reinforce the situation. I can say, oh, actually, if I want you to do something, I can help you understand. So I'm going to ask Shiny to step up. Shiny, step. So if she's not understanding, I can just do that little cheek hold, try to guide her. So I'm going to ask her for 4 feet. She's not actually positioned very well on the pedestal, so I might have to come off before we can actually get this. Shiny, up. Okay, so she turned there. Good girl. Try here. Step up. Now you're positioned a little better. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. So instead of just giving up or thinking I needed a halter or a rope, there's just a very simple example of showing how I could just use my hand on her to help clarify what I want her to do. Good girl. Shiny, come. Good girl. So the hand touch is one of the key things that I teach my horses. It helps them know where to come, and I can use it as a guide for my horses for where I want them to go. And even things like, oh, so there she's like, I want to go over there to the grass. I can just use that little cheek hold and say, no, that's actually not acceptable. We're going to stay over here. And I can use my hand touch as a target to start to get that liberty circle happening. Good girl. So there's lots of ways, good girl, switch, that we can use this target ability here to help direct our horse and help our horse understand different things. So there's a whole different way that we can interact with our horses that doesn't involve having to chase our horse in a round pen and think about our horse only using pressure and release. So I really want you thinking about that. Is my horse a reward, or is my horse staying with me because they feel rewarded, or are they staying with me because they feel like there is a threat? And really, we want our horse to be with us because they feel rewarded, and that's going to increase their motivation, but also it's going to help our horse get to liberty in that open spaces before they otherwise normally could. And so Annalise, who's filming behind the camera, if you can just pan the camera right and left so that way everybody can see that even though we're in my sand ring here, we're actually in a big open space and there's grass and everything that Shiny could be going to. And remember, I've only had her for 3 months, so this is a pretty new relationship still, that we're working with each other and we're doing this sort of stuff in big open space, and I'm just playing around, moving her around. So really think about that. And the main reason that she stays doing liberty is because even though we're in this open space, is that there's the rewards of staying with me. So part of that is I need to be realistic about what my horse is capable of doing and what she's ready to achieve, and being really clear in my communication about my cues for various different tasks that we're going to ask for. Good girl, yes. And at the end of the day, I start with lots of rewards, but slowly she learns to enjoy what we're doing, and it means that we don't have to use as many rewards because she'll just enjoy literally what we're doing. But in general, I'll give you guys a little filter that you can use for rewards. Shiny, back. Shiny, back. Good girl. Yes. So in general with rewards, there's going to be 4 reasons why you give a reward to a horse, whether it's scratching or cookies or whatever else you're going to use. And the 4 reasons are if your horse is doing something new, which is why in the beginning the horse gets lots of rewards because everything's new. If your horse does anything that's challenging for them. So for Shiny, I know that certain things are challenging, like a circle is challenging. So we'll try a circle here, and I'll use a positive reinforcement for doing the circle. Good girl, Shiny. We also do cookies if they do anything exceptionally well. Good girl. Very good girl. Excellent. Good girl, yes. And then we also use rewards for anything that's of high value to us. And nobody gets to tell you what's high value to you. So if you think it's really cute when your horse smiles or kisses, then you can give your horse a reward for that. A lot of times people think it's cute or cool if your horse lays down, so you could offer your horse a reward every time they do that. So it's really up to you what you want your horse to do. Nobody gets to tell you what's of high value to you and your horse. And so those are the 4 reasons why you're gonna give your horse a reward. So you have something new, something challenging, something of high value to you, or something exceptionally well. So this is something that Shiny's learning here. And so I'm picking up her foot here and just seeing if I can draw her head back to cause her to put her weight on her leg here. Very good girl, yes! So that's something very challenging for Shiny. That's something very new that she's learning how to do there. So I'm gonna offer a reward for her. But also anything of high value, I can offer a reward to, which could be anything. So for me, I really value when my horses stand still at the mounting block. So I have a little saying at my farm that before you go for a ride, you have to deposit your quarter. So after I get on my horses, I always give a reward to them, but it's always on this side over here, because notice how when I give her a cookie over here, see how that actually bends her body closer to the mounting block? So sometimes we can be strategic about these things as we're offering those rewards, and it can help our horse for, you know, bigger tasks that we're going to do down the line. So just a little recap for you guys. A myth buster for you is that you need to have tools that you teach your horse online and then test at Liberty, but you can actually teach your horse at Liberty if you know how to use your body position around them in the cues. Another myth is that you have to use chasing and that you have to use pressure and release, but instead you can actually use positive reinforcement. And it's a myth that you'll create a cookie monster using positive reinforcement. Although that could be true, if you teach your horse how to have good manners, then you're going to be okay with all of that. And then if you guys are interested to learn more, I'd love to share with you guys to visit my website, which is www.harmonyhorsemanship.ca, and you can go there to learn a lot more stuff. We have a Harmony at Liberty program, we have a Building Confidence program, and we have a bunch of certified instructors all over that are helping lots of people learn how to work with their horses in different ways. And it's not that I think tools are bad or mean, it's that I think there's a lot of value in working with our horses with no tools, so that way when we add a tool in, we literally are just using it for refined communication and not using it for that intimidation piece or that wanting to threat our horse. So there's a lot to be said for figuring out, okay, so if I'm going to guide my horse, oh, she's looking like she wants to lay down, but I'm not cueing the lay down cue just yet, is that how assertive do I need to be? So like there, when Shiny had her own idea of what to do in the dirt, and I said, no, I'd like you to do this instead, there's an assertiveness that I need to be, where if I'm not assertive enough, she would have just gone off and done her own thing anyways. But then there's also a piece where if I'm too assertive, that she would also just leave, because she would say, that's too overwhelming, that's not going to work for me. So we need to have that little bit of give and take of passiveness and assertiveness, so that way our horse understands to respect us and follow our direction, but also, are you really good? You really want to lay down that badly? So there's a lot that we can learn with our horse with being passive enough and assertive enough, so that way our horse can just have a much better relationship with us all together. So I hope you guys enjoyed that and learned something interesting. I want to thank you guys for watching, and would love to see what you learned in the comments below, and thank you for being here.